Hello everyone and thank you for joining us. We know that the festive season accounts for about 30 to 40% of the annual sales of the auto industry here. Now we're in the midst of October now. We're already done with a lot of festivities and Diwali is just around the corner. To understand the consumer sentiment and what can be expected more from the industry, we're here to understand and meet Mr. Shailesh Chandra, who's the newly elected president of the Society of Indian Automobile Manufacturers. Thank you for joining us today, sir.
Most welcome.
Yeah, so for the past few months, we have seen in the passenger vehicle segment, particularly, there was an inventory mismatch between the OEMs and the dealers. And now, if we see, look at the numbers for the first half of the year, it's quite stable. It looks stable. So, what do you have to say about that? What can be expected from the festive season and probably like afterwards on the inventory front?
No, so on inventory, on the mismatch, I would not have any comments to offer because at SIAM level, we don't track stocks and all. But I'm sure that individual members are engaging with the channel partners to discuss on this topic because it's a bilateral thing. And therefore, mismatch, I think, is uh, is not a is not a thing that I would like to comment on. But generally, the inventory situation has been higher. Which typically is in quarter two because you build up the inventory ahead of the festive season. One can say it might have been slightly more than what it was, what it should have been. As far as this festive season is concerned, and the entire quarter three, you see it's a very high retail quarter. So this is the quarter which gives you opportunity to moderate and bring down your inventory levels. So I don't see this is going to be a big issue after this quarter, hopefully. And demand levels still remain strong. That's the good thing for all the ecosystem players within the industry. And H2 should be better because of the festivities. Monsoon has been good, so rural demand should also be strong. Urban demand is holding up. I think we have all the good signs. No alarm as far as macro indicators are concerned, except for some geopolitical tension, which can lead to some scenario, but we are not seeing any early warning signs still.
Yeah.
So broadly, things look to be in control.
And usually we have seen the festivities, happening and dividing it across the months of October and November. This year, it's only most of them, like all of them, are settled. Like by the end of October, we should be over by then. So, how do you see the festive momentum? What is the consumer sentiment here for this year? Can we see this as the best ever festive season?
Yeah, you can say that because you are absolutely right that generally the Navratra, the Shahra period, and the Diwali, Dhanteras period has been split into 2 months. This time, mostly it is either in this month or say early first week of November. So most of the action will happen in October. The first 10-12 days of Vahan trend, if you really see, it would be about 30-35% growth versus last month. So that augurs well. So I'm expecting that this festive season is going to be strong, keeping fingers crossed.
Yeah. Also, sir, on the EV side, for electric passenger vehicles, uh, the government's new scheme that has come up, the PME Drive scheme, there we do not see any specific incentives for the personal, side for passenger vehicles. And there are incentives for other segments any which way. And we also see the penetration of passenger vehicles not more than 2.5%. So what do you have to say about that? How is that going to move ahead?
So see, one that if you see the penetration, first let me talk about the personal segment and the fame, because personal segment never had a fame incentive in the past also. It was only for the 10-15% of the demand which was for the fleet segment. It is good that the government has this time focused on the key issue, which is the unresolved or residual barrier of the auto industry, which is the charging infra. In the four-wheeler industry, if you see, one single biggest barrier which is holding the growth rate is lack of charging infra, and I think that is where the money has gone, and that's a very proactive move and the right thing for the government to do, because if you resolve this, rest of the barriers are still under control because price of the cars are coming down. With more and more players coming in, the choices are going to increase, so people will have options in all price points, all kind of body style, comparing different OEMs for different products. And also rest of the barriers, I would say, in control. The driving range of cars are now such that you can easily do a lot of intercity also, even as the charging infra is growing. So I think the focus is right. The biggest support that the four-wheeler industry needed is the charging infra, which has been given.
Yeah, but do you see in passenger vehicles entry level cars doing any better? Because the trend has been towards SUV for the past many years now.
You know, the members have different point of views here. If you ask completely my personal view, there would be some level of structural shift which would be taking place, and that is basis of factual reason I'm saying that, because average prices of the cars have gone up. We are seeing a lot of first time buyers also going for slightly expensive cars. So therefore there is definitely a pressure which will sustain now in the entry segment. Um, Also to some extent from the used car side, where the supply has been good. The cars are available which are just 3 to 4 years old, which good feature, bigger cars coming at 4.5, 5 lakh price point average. So there would be impact of many of these trends, which is possibly going to be a structural shift that you might see away from the new cars in lower price points.
Yeah, got it. Also, similar is the trend in the two wheelers. There has been a trend for premiumization. Consumers are going towards that, and the numbers are also showing the same. So, do you see the entry level two wheelers, the commuter level, doing any better going forward?
You know, frankly, I don't have very deep insight, but to the extent I discuss with the members and all, it is not as structural shift that you are seeing in the four wheeler segment. I think the rural demand which had been under stress would also have been the reason, but in general, as the personal disposable income is increasing, there will be always an upward trend in every segment. In certain cases it might be more faster, happening faster than what we were expecting in different segments. So it is slightly different, I would say, in two-wheeler segment as compared to cars.
So, we should expect that growing at least to a
Yes, I
certain
would
pace.
believe that if you really dive deep into the entry um segments in the two-wheeler, you are seeing trends, coming back to the levels where they were. Of
Yeah.
course, it has seen stress in the last three,
Yeah.
4 years, but that is the level of insight I would
Yeah.
have on
And
that
lastly, on
industry.
the export front, like the numbers are in green for the H1 for all the segments except three wheelers. So, do we see any specific challenges like cumulatively on the exports front for any of the segments here?
It would have to do with the markets,
Hmm.
right? I would say the revival has come in those categories where the markets have bounced back. For example, Africa, Latin, in some cases, these countries have bounced back from the challenges that they were facing. I'll have to really look into the three wheelers specifically, what would have been the reason.
So, we don't see any specific challenges for exports in the H2.
And I think it should be good, uh, given the trend is upwards. As I said, that the key markets are reviving back, so it should be good in the
All
coming
right.
years.